Welcome to the Product Boss Podcast, where we help product-based businesses grow their sales and improve their strategies.
Hey everyone, I want to introduce you to my co-host and biz bestie, Mina Kunlo-Sitep, an Amazon guru that has built a multi-six-figure product-based business.
And introducing the other half of the Product Boss, Jacqueline Snyder. She has helped launch and grow over 500 fashion apparel and accessory brands, even one of her own.
And together, we share our inventory of secret weapons that will help you dig deep and do the work it takes.
Are you ready? Let's build together.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Product Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Jacqueline Snyder, with my lovely, beautiful, and talented co-host, Mina Kunlo-Sitep. Hey Mina.
Hey Jacqueline.
So today we are going to sing a little happy birthday to Little Labels. Happy third birthday.
Thank you very much.
It's incredible. When Mina told me that it was July 5th, right?
Yeah, July 5th. Yep.
July 5th was her third birthday anniversary for Little Labels being launched. I could not believe what you have done and built in 3 years, which is just really incredible and amazing. And the fact that you've grown this like huge business. So congrats, happy birthday. And we wanted to kind of talk about what Little Labels has gone through in 3 years and just sort of like a little touch base on Little Labels since its conception.
Yeah. So it was July 5th was when I first got it in there. It's a little bit off because I used the date that I was back onto Amazon. And that's because I had to pull the inventory and then get back on. So I used that specific date because I remember it really well. Well, luck had it that I got onto Amazon July 5th and July 15th was the first ever Prime Day by Jeff Bezos. So it just ended up being great for my business because a month later, so August 15th, just after I was, back into Amazon, that's when Layla had her heart surgery and then we ended up moving into hospital. And so it was crazy because, that scenario of different events, right? So basically I quit doing the business mentally, emotionally, but it just kept working by itself because of the momentum of Prime Day, back to school, and the initial hard work that I had put in. So I used July 5th as the date because that was the big, the uphill on the business and, where the specific date I actually remember thinking July 5th, today's our big day.
So, that's cool that you explained that because I was like, are you crazy? You're launching a business the day after 4th of July. But so when you launched it on the 5th of July, and then did you have to apply for Prime Day at that point? Were you aware of Prime Day coming up?
No, nobody was. He just did it,
it was just like a surprise thing.
I think so. I don't even remember going through it. It was just my initial, I just happened to be at the right place in the right time, I guess. And it was the research that I did because I was like, when was the first Prime Day? So we were part of the first Prime Day in that everybody was. They weren't doing like lightning deals or anything like that. And 2016, we were part of it where you had to be approved for the deal. 2017, we were not a part of it. And then 2018, we are a part of it this year, but we have to pay now. So it's like $750. So this is kind of the evolution of Prime Day as well.
Okay. So tell me what it did for you. Tell us about Prime Day. How did that really catapult the labels forward?
I think it just catapulted everybody forward, Amazon altogether. So it brought people to Amazon that were like, hey, this is really cool. A day in July where you're going to save all this money. And then for instance, 2017's Prime Day was 60% bigger than 2016. And it beat out 2016's Cyber Monday and Black Friday, which is insane, right? So basically Jeff Bezos, so his birthday for Amazon is July 15th. And so he created Amazon's Prime Day to celebrate that. So really, essentially, years from now, I could create a Prime Day, or we call it something different, perhaps a Lil Day or Lil Labels Day, and Lil Labels Day where it would be July 5th. And the nation would know that it is Lil Labels Day.
The nation would know. This is the day. Um, so, I mean, Prime Day is July 16th this year, I
Right.
think. And so and what's kind of incredible, and I don't know if you even realized this when you launched the business, but that the summer was a big time because you always say it's your busiest time for you because you're doing camp stuff, you're ramping up to the school season. Obviously, one of your biggest platforms is Amazon. This is like a really big time for you, like July, August, September.
Huge.
And it's sort of like you're kind of saying, like Kismet, it all sort of happened one after the other. Because did you know that back to school was going to be your biggest time?
No, I did not. I didn't know a lot of things. So we'll go into that. The number one, so the first one is it's not going to be how you expect.
Ain't that the truth, sister?
Yeah. So I had no idea that back to school would be my biggest year or time of the year. I had no idea that nursing homes would buy my clothing labels. I had no idea that last week on Saturday we would have a flood and partially, like a citywide flood, for instance, you guys. So this is how much unexpected things come up. So on the birthday, July 5th, which is like almost a week ago, I was celebrating by cleaning out my basement that had been flooded. The whole city of Ankeny was flooded with 10 inches of rain in 90 minutes. And I mean, the city, they even say that FEMA might consider it a national disaster. And it was crazy. So my whole entire basement, which was finished, got flooded. And we had to take out the carpet. The disaster relief people had to come over and we had to pay them, of course, and they had to dry out the basement. And basically we had to put all the finished stuff upstairs and then all the inventory upstairs. So now we're living in a factory life on only one floor. Our completely basement is completely, we've got it up to whatever it needs to be. Right now we have to hire people to install new baseboards and a new carpet padding, clean up the carpet that we have because it actually was just fine. It was salvageable, but they said that we needed to get it shampooed, put a new carpet pad down, and they sprayed down like antimicrobials. And it ended up costing us lots of thousands of dollars.
Unexpected money.
Unexpected expenses. We say, most of the boxes were up on shelves. So we maybe lost like 6 boxes out of like the 35 that were down there. And, it was completely unexpected, but not just for me, for the entire city. I am trying to have the best attitude with it that I can because people were hit more and they didn't have the money that, to lose or to, invest in some disaster relief, basically. And then
I saw
also
a YouTube video of like water rushing into a pool from the outside, something crazy.
Yeah. And then like Hy-Vee, which is, that grocery store, got flooded and the workers had to like walk out in like knee-high water. And there was like candy bars floating everywhere. And everybody was like, save the candy bars. Like it was insane. Like, it was a lot of people. And then also my daughter's daycare, Layla's daycare, was flooded and they actually had to cut out all the insulation and the drywall up 2 feet. We didn't have to do that because we dry vac the heck out of it in time. But she has no daycare right now. So that is another thing that I'm learning very quickly. It's never how you expect it. I planned so many things. I think in the last episode, I talked about how I was going to do 12 days of giveaways. Well, half that stuff got ruined. So there's going to be no 12 days of giveaways. It might be one day, very much later on in this whole thing.
Rolling with the punches. Let me ask you a question though. So with this like natural disaster that occurred, is there anything that maybe you would have or could have done different? Like we talked about business insurance, is there anything that you sort of think from learning about what's happened because you do have like a home office that you would recommend to our listeners to maybe consider?
So I do you have to have like $2 million insurance if you're in Walmart and things like that, but it's more like liabilities. If anybody sues you or sues Walmart, you are covered. It's not so much, the inventory or anything like that. So we didn't have flood insurance. We didn't even have flood insurance for the house. We're in the middle of a neighborhood. I'm talking right smack in the middle. Our whole entire city was hit. So like there's people who said, maybe I should get a secondary sump pump. There is no sump pump in this freaking world that's going to be able to handle that amount of rain in that small amount of time. And then I could get insurance now, like home insurance, that had like a flood rider. But one of my friends had flood insurance and his deductible was $5,000. So I could probably buy insurance that was 1,000. But we haven't had floods in Iowa since 93. So that's 25 years ago. And I was saying to my husband, so do we buy a flood rider now? I mean, assuming there might be 10 more inches of rain coming at us, or do we not and then end up having to pay, like $5,000 down the road? I don't know. So is there anything that you can do? No, unless you want to go head to head with Mother Nature and take it up with her.
And we know who's going to lose in that one.
And then also, I think you just have to make the best of it. I basically cut out all the necessities that I did not need to have. So, I mean, necessities, that's funny when I say it that way. I canceled my massage.
Active stress management.
And things like that were part of my schedule because I was starting to feel so overwhelmed, right? And then my daughter's home. And then it's just like, you just have to eliminate all the time stressors, I guess. So basically, I pushed things back. I did what I could because I knew it was going to be a lot on me at one time. I eliminated the giveaway. I didn't celebrate Little Label's birthday on July 5th. I just let it happen. And it's okay. All of that is okay because it's not going to be how you expect, but there's going to be highs, very high highs and very low lows,
Yeah, because you were also in one of your best-selling seasons, I think you were saying to me. Like Little Labels is
Yeah,
doing so well.
we are doing really well. But we're matching up to last year, which is amazing because we have, I'm not kidding you, like 25 times the competitors that we used to have. And I say 25 times because we're still on page 1, but we have 25 more pages following us, whereas we only had like 1 before, right? And so I feel like since we're sustaining and doing really well still, we're doing really well. But August hasn't hit yet, and we're running out of inventory. The nice thing about our inventory, because Jacqueline actually tried to order some Little Labels and they're out of stock, is that our labels, our variations are so similar to our original that people can just be like, oh, instead of buying this one, I'll buy this design instead. So
And
that really helps too. Yeah.
Actually, I was trying to get it individually, and then but what I could buy were the packs. I actually had to pay you more money.
My strategy worked.
Because the pack was not sold out, but the individual ones were. So you're welcome.
Evil genius at work here. So that's really nice in that, even like something sucky, like running out of inventory there leads to a bigger sale with Jacqueline. So, silver lining.
So what else? What else in these 3 years?
Number 2, you must have a strategy of finesse rather than brute force. And what I mean by that is that don't work your butt off. Don't overstress yourself. Don't work yourself all hours of the day and night because it's all about finesse and pivoting. So I used to play tennis, and I think I've brought this up before in the last episode of, it's winning for your opponent too. But another thing that I love about tennis is that it's a game of finesse. So it doesn't matter how strong you are. You don't need to blow out the person and ace them. You just have to be smarter in them to finesse it. So like tapping it over the net to just get it over a little bit, lobbing it over their head. So you don't have to be very strong. You can be very petite or whatever, but it's just a game of finesse, And so instead of doing brute force, where I could have brute forced my way through this flood and been like, I'm going to do these giveaways. I'm going to celebrate this birthday. It would be great promotion, and I'm going to work my tail off to make it happen. It's never worked that way because you go straight to burnout if you go to brute force because you're brute forcing your way to success rather than finessing your way to success. And that's one thing I've learned hard and heavy with Little Labels is that you have to allow yourself time to, process things. So, and you have to allow other people to process things. So let's say you don't hear back from a manufacturer or you don't hear back from a big retailer. Give them time to process without freaking out. And, you can't be like, I'm going to brute force my way through that all the way up to Walmart's doors and call them 18 times because that might be something that somebody suggests you to do is just keep pestering and asking. But brute forcing it is way like beyond overkill because it's just hard that way and you don't enjoy it as much. I mean, what do you think? Would you agree with that?
I would. I think I think having a strategy behind it too, though, like knowing your actionable steps. So if, let's say, you're trying to get into Walmart and you don't hear from them, maybe you plan out for yourself, okay, I'm going to follow up with them again in like 3 days. And then if I don't hear from them, maybe a week from then. And then, it's even like in sales pitches or sales calls where you're like, okay, if I don't hear from you, you're not obviously not interested, but just keep me, I'll touch base with you soon. I have somebody that was trying to get me to give them a referral, actually like our mortgage lender or something. She literally once a week sent me an email asking me for this referral. And I was like, I didn't really like working with you guys. I didn't say that to her on the phone when she called me to give her the referral, but I did tell her there were some like ups and downs, and she kept asking. And eventually I was like, you know what? I know you want this referral. When I'm ready, I'll give it. I probably won't ever give it, but it was like, it actually turned me off to all of it, right? Like to the whole wanting to give it. So I think it's true. Like I imagine like a ballerina dancing, like she's so strong and she is like dainty and beautiful, or like a butterfly. When they talk about like the wind force of a butterfly's wings, if you were tiny, like how much that would be.
This episode was brought to you by our new mastermind program, Holiday to Halo. You get the guidance of both myself and Jacqueline as your coaches inside an amazing group of fellow product-based business owners. Starting in September, we'll be getting a head start and ramping up to make a big impact on sales for the Cyber 5, which is Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. Then on to Christmas revenue strategy. And to boost your growth into the new year, we'll be setting your business up for Halo sales into Q1. We would love for you to join us. Go to theproductboss.com/mastermind for more information.
So steady as it goes. Like there's more productions, there's more sales, there's more things around the corner. There's more things to come. Like this isn't your last Prime Day. This is not your last birthday, any of that. So your business birthday. So if you just stick with it, like this is just a blip on the entire life span of this business.
Yeah. And one of the other things too is just remember I'm in like pre-launch or launch of Oasis Soap Co. I could brute force my way through this and be like, I'm in launch mode right now. I need to get in this timing and I need to do it now. But I'm not going to brute force my way into launching this product because you know what? It's just not the timing for it right now. I just got hit with a flood. I need time to process that stuff. And I'm not going to brute force my way into a mega launch of Oasis.
Thank God that soap was not on the floor. Could you imagine?
Yeah, it's at the manufacturer, thank freaking goodness.
And I agree with you in the way that you go with how it goes, right? Like it's how I felt like with pregnancy. Like there's a time you can't control your body. You can't control what's happening like in the pregnancy. You kind of have to roll with it. If you get sick or, whatever it is, you kind of have to go with it. It's out of your control what's happening most of the time. I think the same in business. Now there obviously is launch mode. There's obviously times that you are going strong and going hard and putting in those late nights, but it doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have to be all the time. There's no way you can keep that up without burning out and then sort of being over it. And then you actually drop off to the other end where things are not happening because you've put so much effort into it that then there's like, you need a minute to take a break.
Yeah. And you become resentful of that time that you put in when you were so stressed out from doing it,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing. And Jacqueline and I always talk about iterate. And I think I say that every single time we bring it up, iterate. Because that's what the game is. It's all about iterations,
So what's number 3?
Number 3 is the more people you connect with, the more successful you'll be. And that is super key. I think it builds your personal development. It gives you a heightened awareness of how people are different than you. And then it gives you like a broader view. So you always see you have way more to learn. You have way more to grow. And the more people you connect with, like for instance, just meeting Jacqueline, for instance, has completely changed my viewpoint and my world in specific areas where I would never even tap into them. So each person I think affects you differently, some people more than others, but I think the more people you connect with, the more successful you'll be. Well, maybe not if you're like completely oblivious. That's why I use the word connect. So the more successful you'll be because it'll change you. You'll become a personal, more developed person and it'll flow into your business as well.
I think so. So even just thinking about like what you've done in the year that I think it's about a year. We're over a year now, maybe our
Just a little
anniversary.
bit. Yep.
um, but even the things that you've done that are different, like you went to that mastermind with product entrepreneurs recently, and just those connections that you found and that you saw what other people were doing in businesses that were, same sort of level as your business and what they were doing and how they were approaching things like Amazon or Walmart or wherever they were selling. So it's really, that's what we say, like being on that desert island, right? When you start these businesses, so many of the people that we work with and our listeners are working from home. It's starting as a side hustle. It's an idea. Maybe they've been successful enough that it could be their full-time job, but you're doing it alone. Maybe your spouse, maybe you have a partner, they're sort of helping you with it. But then as you start to reach out for help, you start to reach out for connections, you start to reach out for community, that's where you get to sort of like up level. It reminds me very much of like being in school, like art school, or when you're in college and you're getting to like sit down and collaborate, or you come up with ideas and you brainstorm together and think about the ideas we had in college, whatever it was, if you're in English class or like whatever it was that you were able to sit around and talk about it, and these great ideas that came out of all these like-minded people that are aligned with the same sort of, same goals and dreams.
Yeah. So that was the last one, but I had 3 goals on the horizon. Should we go into those?
Yeah.
So 3 goals that I have is for Little Labels. I want to be more retail online. So not so much like Walmart in store, but like Walmart. I mean, I'm already on Walmart.com. But like, for instance, I got an email from Macy's.com and they're restructuring to bring in small businesses to be a part of their roster and their platform online. So I'm excited about that. I want to get more into Zulily. I would like to phase out Jane a little bit just because I can't seem to get on their schedule enough, and really push into other retail so then I can build outside of Amazon. Though, I have Amazon Canada and UK, it's separate from the US. And so that's kind of secondary. So I want to do more retail platforms online. Number 2 is I want to up-level my social media presence. But I want to be very clear with everybody as far as like, you don't even need a social media presence if you're focusing somewhere else. So for instance, I've made multiple 6 figures, high 6 figures on having pretty much very little social media presence because I've been really smart on the platforms that I've pushed, and getting onto there. And that was my number 1 strategy. You can only focus on so much. So like a lot of people think that social media is an end all be all. I think it's an add-on, So social media presence, I want to up level that. Third, I want to add a social good aspect. So this is something I've already implemented where I picked out 3 charities that I'm going to be donating on behalf of the customers, and they get to pick out which charity. So the first one is for dogs that have therapy for vets. And so because I had a dog and she was therapy for me, like I had super bad anxiety. She was the first person that showed me like pure joy and unconditional love. Like I didn't understand that before I was a mom. So I think that's really important for people. It can change their lives.
And you just referred to her as a person. So that's like, I actually just listened to a podcast where I think it was Maria Shriver talking about how when people lose a pet, sometimes they're even more affected by the loss of a pet than sometimes even a family member because of how close they are. So like that grief is in all sorts of ways and for all sorts of people. So I love that.
Yeah, so that was the first organization. Second organization is Pencils of Promise, and that is where they donate to third world countries like Laos, for one, and build schools. And so my mother-in-law was actually a math teacher in Laos, and my husband's real dad was the principal there. So scandal. No, actually wasn't a scandal back then. But she, her husband would have been the principal of the school. And he was actually killed on the way from America to America when they were fleeing, the refugee camps and stuff. So I think that it's important to fuel that area that they came in, and then they do it through education and educational resources. So I think that's really cool. And then third is the Children's Heart Foundation, and it is for research. So basically anybody that buys on Amazon, they're given a landing page that they can go on and pick the charity that I donate to on their behalf. And those are the 3 choices. So that is another initiative that I want to start my year off with and just doing some social good and but be able to kind of pick where I want it to go.
I love that. And I agree with you so much about the social media, because Designer Consulting Co-op as well I don't do social media. I don't need it. But you and I have been in business for a while, but it is about where you're at. So, in our other podcast episode where we're talking about how to stand out from the crowd and that sort of thing, there's other ways to be out there. So think about all the things that we buy on Amazon without ever having seen it on Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's like
I have to tell you the funniest story, which you're not even aware of. Is so funny. You guys, Jacqueline is a grandma, even though she's younger than me.
I'm a grandma.
Because she in technology.
It's true.
I was listening to this. We've been recording podcast episodes separately, and I was listening to the one that she did on like video on Instagram, and she keeps calling emojis emoticons.
Oh yeah,
what they were called in the 2000s. For those of you that are really
are we
young.
Still in the 2000s?
Yeah, like early 2000s, maybe the 90s when they
no
first
way.
came out. Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
Did they only come out like 5 years ago?
Maybe emojis. They were called emoticons originally, way back when you could get them only in your computer, but they're not called anymore. They're called emojis. And I was like, Jacqueline keeps calling them emojis. Obviously, she does not get on social media or use them. Whereas I'm like complete opposite of her, where I'm like an overuser of emojis. So I'll give you an example.
That's true.
I was looking at my frequently used emojis. And so usually it's like the salsa dancer, right? And it's the high five lady, and it's the heart. I always do a heart, or I'll do the face palm to the head one. Jacqueline's like blank face. She doesn't know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So lately, I looked at my recently ones, and they are ugly cry face, cry with tear, sobbing face.
Oh
the flood. Like, if you want to know what my world is like with the flood, it is like ugly.
Crying emoticons is what you're saying.
Yeah, emojis.
So I actually, because I am, as you call me, a grandma, on the social media. So I've even like looked at how you will post things on our Facebook pages and all the posts, and you have like check marks and happy faces. So I'm always going through like trying to be, but I'm just not cool. I'm not cool like that.
So yes. So yeah, and she's highly successful. I mean, she does not need to even be on social media. So that just goes to show you social media. I mean, it's okay if you're not, like, give yourself some grace if you're, being hard on yourself of not being a social media expert by now,
Because ultimately in our business, so this is the difference again, why we started this podcast, why it's product-based versus service-based. And I know I'm a service-based business, but products, yeah, you do, you want the images, you want the beautiful stuff. But if you really get a good deal going with somebody, like I have a client that has, for her, Zulily is her biggest platform that she works with as well. And she doesn't need Instagram. She sells hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on Zulily, and people don't know the brand name. She has the store, she has the retail. And so that's the point, right? We're trying to sell products. So sometimes it's not even about your Instagram, even though you get caught up in it. But if you're doing well, we want you to look and see like what you're doing and what you're doing well. Now, if you're starting a business, it gets a little bit more competitive, but you pick a place and you focus on it. And just remember, no matter what, it all comes down to money and sales. So everything you do needs to contribute towards that. Like clients of mine that want to do fashion shows, that's great. But is it what's your return on your investment? Are people actually going and buying? Are buyers actually buying from that? What do they really want to know? What do they really need to see to know that they want to buy it and put you in their store? So just think about that. But you know what, Mina, congratulations, because this is quite impressive for 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So happy birthday to you. And maybe we'll have when the great flood of 2018, as I like to refer to it, when all of that dies down, we'll have a little birthday party for you on our Facebook page. So everyone head on over to our Facebook community. It's the Product Boss community on Facebook. It's a private community. You have to answer a couple questions to join. But what's happening in there is there's a lot of really great great, deep conversation in the community, a lot of support, people finding accountability partners, and celebration. So when great things happen, it's that place where you get to brag and celebrate and not be judged. Like it's hard to go up to like your friend or your sister or sister-in-law and say like, hey, just got $100,000 order. They'd be like, okay.
They'd be like, why are you bragging?
Yeah. Or if you're like, I just got $1,000 order. And they're like, is that good or bad? I'm not really sure, you know? So we're just this community of support that sees like we see each other's pivots, we help each other grow, and we support each other in our ups and also like help lift each other up on their downs. And so that's where it's at. So like the Great Flood of 2018, we're there to support Mina and her product and then also celebrate her major wins.
The link will be in the show notes for the Facebook group. So make sure you guys join because there's lots of fun stuff and connecting over there.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. This episode was brought to you by our new mastermind program, Holiday to Halo. You get the guidance of both myself and Jacqueline as your coaches inside an amazing group of fellow product-based business owners. Starting in September, we'll be getting a head start and ramping up to make a big impact on sales for the Cyber 5, which is Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday. Then on to Christmas revenue strategy. And to boost your growth into the new year, we'll be setting your business up for Halo sales into Q1. We would love for you to join us. Go to theproductboss.com/mastermind for more information.
Loved this episode of the Product Boss podcast? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. We would so appreciate it.